closing session is intended to be rolled out. I will commence with referencing the Nusa Dua Statement that we will promulgate, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Secondly, Pak Yusuf, our gracious host, will share with us his closing remarks, and I will follow with closing remarks on behalf of Australia. In relation to the Nusa Dua Statement, as those of you who are part of FATF and Egmont and other international networks, literally days and days are spent on the finalisation of statements, declarations, etc., communiques to come from some of those international bodies. And this summit is a summit of voluntary countries, and the statement we will put out belongs to those who wish to align to it. We have shared the draft of the statement in advance of today. A number of countries contributed some points of view. We were extremely grateful for the very well-considered contributions that some countries made. We feel that that has enriched the overall statement. The statement has a history. One of the things that we decided to do when we conceived this concept of a counter-terrorism financing summit was to make sure that the statement meant something, that for those who were not here, they had a clear understanding of what the counter-terrorism financing summit was all about. Most importantly, that this is a summit, a coalition of partners from around our region and the world, public and private sectors, that are prepared to commit to action. And that is what the statement represents. So, as you will see, a lot of the introduction will be familiar to you all. You will shortly receive the hard copy on your desk. As we were continuing to finalise the document, the ink is still drying, so you'll have it shortly and you won't get dirty fingers because the ink is now dried, I'm told. Some of you who have contributed will recognise your contributions. In fact, I can say that not one suggestion was in fact rejected from any of the countries who put forward ideas. So at this stage, we thought that that was a relatively good outcome. One of the other key areas of focus that I thought I'd draw to your attention is reference to the regional risk assessment. It should be accepted that communities and anyone else that reads this statement understands that the regional risk assessment is not just a document that will now be stored on a shelf within drawers, that the document now provides the priority platform for future collaboration, particularly over the next 12 months. It focuses those countries that are willing to contribute to the working groups on the outcomes that we will report on in 2017. And the only other point that I thought I'd mention, and I think as a collective, all the countries that commenced this journey in Sydney that are here today, the think tanks, the private sector organisations, academia, are all, I think, responsible for the fact that we can confirm that all objectives set out in the Sydney communique have been realised. Now that is something that you should all be congratulated on. There was a lot of hard work. In fact, it's only been 9 months since Sydney, when one thinks about it. And to have achieved the very ambitious objectives that we set ourselves is a credit to all of you. To those who are within the region and to countries outside the region who provided their input and expertise. And of course, not to mention global bodies such as the APG and, as I mentioned, some of the private sector groups. So we go into detail around what operationalising the terrorism financing risk assessment means. And really, as you can see, these are statements about operational actions that are going to be taken by the working groups. That's what they are. And that's the important point, I think, to be made here. Again, you can see they directly build on the regional risk assessment. And I think the last dot point that I will make is that we will be holding the Counter-Terrorism Financing Summit as an ongoing annual event. I will not say much more about that, and I'll leave that to our host, Pak Yusuf, who will talk about the 2017 summit. But again, what's important is that all of the action items that we've included in the statement will be reported on at the next summit. So those countries that are willing to participate will, as part of that participation, be held to account for our effectiveness and our success. We see that as one of the defining aspects of this summit. And an important defining aspect that I think adds to the summit's credibility and to the summit's relevance. Of course, this summit and this statement are not non-binding on anyone. And I think that's an important point to be made here. Okay, thank you. So that's the summit. I hope that applause was for yourselves, because that is a result of your work. So well done to all of you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good afternoon, Excellencies, distinguished guests, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, and all of my friends in this room. We come to the close of what has been, by all accounts, a very successful and productive conference. On behalf of the committee, PPATEC and Austrek, we want to thank to the speakers, facilitator, those who prepare papers, of course, participants for your contribution, which made this summit a success. Who could have imagined a better exchange than seeing representatives from the several countries' representatives are joining forces in the work?